Hey guys, what is going on? Anthony here with Pistons Talk. Hope you guys are having a great day so far, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Shout out to you guys. No podcast today. We had a podcast Friday, I believe. It was with Bryce Simon of the Pistons Pulse podcast. If you guys want to check that out on YouTube, I'll put a link down in the description. You guys can watch that. We talked about the Pistons, free agency, upcoming draft. Really good conversation, about an hour or so. If you don't want to watch it on YouTube, we're on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. It should be up and available on there. And if you guys got two seconds out of your day, give us a rating. Give us an honest rating of what you guys think of the podcast. I would love to get some feedback from you guys of what you think of the podcast. So far, since I've kind of rebranded it and been doing it by myself, would really like to get some honest opinions about the podcast. But why you're here, Monty Williams, why you guys are here. Is he going to be let go? Is he returning as the head coach to your Detroit Pistons for next season? Now, we did get some news yesterday from longtime reporter Mark Stein, very respected NBA journalist and reporter. And he did get some intel of what he's hearing with the Detroit Pistons. And we're going to react to Bleacher Report citing his article in this one. So let's get into it. It says the Detroit Pistons are unlikely to make coaching changes this offseason. NBA insider Mark Stein reported that current Pistons head coach Monty Williams is likely to return as team's head coach despite a difficult season. Williams was hired by Detroit prior to the 2023-2024 season and still has 5 years and $80 million remaining on his deal. If he were to have been fired, the Los Angeles Lakers had been linked as a potential landing spot. Last season was a rough one for the Pistons. Detroit went 14-68 in 2023-2024, worse than the NBA. This includes a 28-game losing streak early in the season, and the situation wasn't improved when the Pistons fell from 1st to 5th in the NBA draft lottery. So there is a lot to get into, a lot to react just within these couple of sentences from Mark Stein. So I'm going to pick a couple of sentences to dissect and kind of give you guys my analysis, where I'm thinking with this whole Monty Williams situation with the Pistons. The first part of this article I do want to kind of dissect and react to is the very first sentence. The Detroit Pistons are unlikely to make coaching changes this offseason. That was the million-dollar question going into this offseason. It really was. I know a lot of you guys were asking me, is he getting fired? I personally didn't know. I have no intel. Like, I hear news the same way you guys hear news. I don't have any of these sources. I'm not going to pretend like I have sources because I don't. I just don't. That's why I have reporters on this podcast at least once a month to try to get some intel from them. So when you guys are watching these live streams, when you guys are watching these podcasts and listening to these podcasts, you guys get a little bit of information, and we both learn at the same time. Now, I asked James. He said he was 50-50. I even asked Corey a couple of times when we had him on this past season, and both of them basically gave me the same answer. They weren't really sure if Monty was going to return, but I think if you look at the choice of words Mark Stein did put in this article, it says this offseason, meaning that there could be a possibility that Monty Williams could be let go if he has another bad season with your Detroit Pistons. This doesn't mean that he's going to last his whole 5-6 year contract with the Detroit Pistons. I think if you go into next season and you lay another egg, you lay another stinker, there's a good chance that Tom Gores and company, him and Trajan Langdon, try to look for new head coaching candidates. But that's the first part of the article I did want to react to. Now, the other part I wanted to look at is this Lakers thing, because this is the first time I've actually seen this. And I'm not like reading Mark Stein's Substack every week. I'm not. I missed some stuff. I missed some NBA news. Now, this is the first time I'm hearing it. It says, if he were to have been fired, the Los Angeles Lakers had been linked as a potential landing spot. Now, the Lakers coaching situation is a very weird one to give an opinion. I can give you an assumption, though. I honestly think JJ Redick is going to take the job. I do. The Dan Hurley stuff was kind of weird, and if you kind of read into like Adrian Wojnarowski and his relationship with the Hurley family, it would make a little bit more sense why that reporting came out. But I think JJ Redick is going to take that job. Now, the Lakers would be interested if the Pistons would have let him go, which I get. The Lakers are looking for an established name. If you look at their coaching hires over the past couple of seasons, that would make sense just in terms of like the Lakers head coaching candidacy. But Lakers could be a sneaky option if the Pistons were to let go of Monty Williams. But I did find that interesting that Mark Stein did put that in his article, and Bleacher Report did cite that, saying that the Lakers had been linked to Monty as a potential landing spot if he were to get fired by the Pistons. Now, there is more into this article we're going to react to, so let's get into the second part of this article. So with the second part of this article, it says, while Williams didn't elevate the Pistons in his first season, it's unfair to say that he was expected to lead the team to greatness immediately. Detroit hasn't reached the postseason since 2018-2019 and had a 17-64 record in 2022-2023. The roster did not have significant change from the prior seasons, but Williams' inability to help the team show any improvement had his job security coming into question. So let's react to this first part of this article. Now, what I do agree with is this part right here. The roster did not have significant changes from prior seasons. And that is a fact, you guys. If you look at Dwayne Casey's last year when they went 17-64, the roster really wasn't that much different. The only real changes I would say is you went out and traded for Joe Harris, and you were expecting him to get back on the form. That didn't happen. You went out and traded for Monte Morris. On paper, that move made a whole lot of sense. A guy that didn't turn the ball over and could actually make some buckets, shoot some threes at a decent percentage. He just couldn't stay healthy, and that's not his fault. It's just the nature of the beast sometimes, you know? But that was really the only changes you really made. And obviously the draft picks with Asar Thompson and Marcus Sasser, but the seasons from, Dwayne Casey's last year in 2022, 2023 to 2023, 2024, the rosters were basically identical. And you lost more games with a healthy Cade Cunningham when they only had him for 12 to 13 games under Dwayne Casey. But I think the rosters, it's a good argument you can make for why we shouldn't really judge him too hard. I'm not making excuses, but you can make that argument with the roster construction. It was not the best going into this past season. Now, what I will say is this next part of this article, what we're kind of talking about is, I'm just going to skip past this and go into this. It said, instead of picking a new coach, it looks like the team will run it back with Williams. He had a pretty successful tenure with the Phoenix Suns from 2019 to 2022-23, leading the team to a 194-115 overall record and had even an NBA Finals berth in 2020-2021. This, combined with his large contract, could be a contributing factor to him getting a longer leash. Now, I'll say this. I don't think his leash is as long as Bleacher Report is citing in this article. I think anytime you set a franchise record for losing, not only in a full 82-game season, but losing 28 straight games, I think his leash is actually shorter than Bleacher Report is talking about in this article. Not saying that it's long as it used to be, but if you go out into next season and have a similar season where you're losing a lot of games, questions are going to be asked. Definitely questions are going to be asked. Now, what I wanted to get into, and I know I kind of sidetracked, I apologize for that. My ADD is just going in 50 different directions right now. I apologize. The Phoenix Suns thing, okay? When I hear a lot of Pistons fans talk about Monty Williams, they like to bring up, well, Anthony, he made the NBA Finals. He's a good coach. He won Coach of the Year. You're too hard on Monty Williams. I think it's unfair to compare Phoenix to Detroit, and let me explain why. The Detroit Pistons don't have a player like Devin Booker on their roster. They just don't, and that's a fact. The Detroit Pistons don't have a Mikal Bridges. They don't have a Cameron Johnson. They don't have a Chris Paul. They just don't. I think Monty is a good coach. I think going into last season, the front office didn't give him a whole lot to work with, and I will give him that credit. And I'm not gonna say it's an excuse, but I will give him a kind of a pass. Like, the roster sucked last year. Let's just call a spade a spade. It wasn't great, but you can't expect the same kind of success he had in Phoenix in Detroit. Chris Paul's not coming here. We don't have a Devin Booker. I think Monty could be a good coach, but we should probably lower our expectations. This isn't going to go from a 14 to a 45 win basketball team. There's levels to this shit, you guys. Instead of 14 wins, maybe we're at 25, 26 wins going into next season. I think you're going to have to sign guys to bad contracts for them to come here. I think you have to nail it in the draft. And just hope that these guys that we have drafted, they take a step in development and this team gets better. But I don't think Monty Williams is going to last the entirety of his contract. I just don't see it. I think the organization will move on from him. That's just my straight up opinion. I think Monty's a good coach. I just think I've told you guys, I think he's the wrong coach for this team. I think he's the wrong coach for the Detroit Pistons. And if I'm wrong, I will make a video and let you guys know I'm wrong. But I don't think I am. I think this team needs a young, up-and-coming coach that can relate to them more. But let me know what you guys think of this latest news from Mark Stein saying that the Detroit Pistons are going to be bringing back Monty Williams as the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. I will talk to you guys down there. Like always, hope you guys are staying safe. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.